Hello, welcome to my channel. I'll quickly take you through how I achieved this brown smoky look. So firstly, I'll apply baobab oil, which I'm doing as the base, which serves as a good moisturizer and makes the skin shiny and supple. It's very perfect. It's just perfect for dry skin mostly. So once that's done, I'll spread with my tapered blending and sculpting brush. So after which we'll apply the illuminator. This is NYX illuminator I'm using here. It's really good and it gives that glow. So it's important you blend in properly. After that, I'm applying my face primer, a facial primer, a lightweight type to be precise. This is Jadela facial primer which I'm using here. You blend in properly as well with your brush. Make sure it goes around the face. So once that is done, you make sure that it spreads and you blend in. Once that is done, the next is to apply your shade of foundation sparingly. You apply this firstly with a tiny brush just to map out first lightly. Once that is done, you blend in properly. Just make sure that you apply it sparingly, like a little. You blend in properly, especially in a circular motion, to avoid harsh lines or patches and all that. So it's important to use a very good beauty blender for the blending process, and it's advisable you do this in a circular motion as well. Once that is done, we start the highlighting process, which usually includes the under eye area, your T-zone area, which is your forehead, your bridge of your nose, your chin, even the hollow of your cheek, which I last highlighted there. So once that is done, you use your brush, your sculpting brush as well, to blend before you use your beauty blender to do the finishing, the blend finishing. I prefer doing that because it gives me a perfect finish. So I'll blend. After the blending is done, then you go over to the under eye area, which I'm doing now. Once you blend with your brush, blend out with your brush, you use your beauty blender to finish up the blending. That is very important as well. So once that is done, you set it with your setting powder. It could be banana powder, sachet cup, or here I'm using Hush Beauty setting powder. So once that is done, I start with the contouring process. The contouring process, you use 2 shades darker of your normal shade of concealer. So I'm starting with the nose area. The areas to contour are your facial structure are to bring out those bony, structured areas around your face, your nose area, the bridge of your nose, your cheekbone, and then that nose part extends to the under part of your brow. So you need to blend that in properly, which I'm doing now. Blend this in properly to avoid any harsh lines. It has to blend out and fade out. So it's important to use a small brush for that area and a fluffy one at that as well to blend in. You blend in your concealer used before setting with the powder. So I prefer blending with my foundation brush as well over on the facial part of the contour, the edges of the face, around the face basically, and then your cheekbone and underneath your cheek plane. So it's important as well. So once that is done, you've mapped it out, you blend properly. So I'm blending it with my foundation brush at the moment. Blending it, you can see I'm turning my brush in a circular motion. So once that is done, you can use a setting powder. So now I'm using a MAC NW45 to blend and set the concealer I applied earlier. So that will keep it intact and in place before I do my finishing at the end. So I'm doing that over the nose as well, on top of the nose where I use the concealer to contour. So that is a fluffy brush I'm applying with the powder there as well. I'd applied little concealer, tap over her eyelid. So I'm just going to tap that lightly, which will serve as a base, like eye primer for me. I use the LA Pro Concealer, LA Girl Pro Concealer. So once that is done, I practically just use a dark brown powder eyeshadow to blend inwards on the eyelid for a start. So I'm using a tiny blending eyeshadow blending brush to blend in, to apply from the outer corner to the inner corner of the eyes. After that, I take another darker shade and tap with a flat eyeshadow brush. I'm tapping it on the eyelid. You can see I'm not pressing or dragging. I'm tapping before I, spread. Tap and spread. Then you leave a tiny space at the inner corner of the eye. So once that is done, it sticks. And you try very well not to exceed the crease of the eye, which is that lining that you have that demarcates your eyelid from the other part of your eyes. So once that is done, we move on to the next step. If you're not satisfied with the pigmentation of the eyeshadow, you can add more. Here I'm using the dark brown powder eyeshadow for a smoky effect. So then I take my Juvier palette and apply a lighter shade of brown. This is more like clay color at the beginning part of the shadow. So I have like 3 shades of brown so far, and then I pat and then I blend. Pat and then I blend. You make sure there's no demarcation. You blend it properly in a zigzag motion in between the 2 different colors, to ensure that there are no lines showing. Once that is done, you go to the top of the crease, apply a little and blend out, fade out as well with your brush for a perfect smoky finish. So we'll do that as well for both eyes. You could extend it if you're not satisfied, which I'm doing here. And then you put it over the lid as well, whatever is left in your brush, to achieve that natural finish for both eyes. So once that is done, I'll get the next brush. So I'm applying a lighter transition color just to fade out on both sides. So it's important you fade inwards, because when you're fading outwards, it makes the eyes look tired and then it's all messed up. Everything falls out and it looks really messy. So I'm blending inwards with the very tiny brush, because I'm approaching the very top of the under part of the brow, which I really don't want to be messed up. So once you're done blending, you can also finish with the powder while you're blending. So you just check that everything is intact that you've done so far, and that they are identical on both eyes. So next thing is to go over to the brows. So I'm setting the brows with the brow tamer, because naturally she has full brow hairs. So practically, before you do anything to your brows, you make sure that they're properly shaped, to follow your natural brow shape. So now I'm setting and brushing accordingly to ensure that her brows are in place before I start outlining her brows with my micro pencil, eyebrow pencil. So once that is done, for both brows, I start tracing. I'm tracing, following her natural brow hairline. So I'm tracing to get the bold brows, because her brows are naturally full. I'm not going to pigment it. I'm just tracing. I've not applied anything to her hair, her natural brow hair yet. So I'm tracing, sketching, tracing, following her hairline natural brow hairline, both at the bottom and top. So the only part I'm filling in are the sparse areas where her skin might be showing, you know, and then at the beginning you just taper and follow the natural hair up. So you brush that out as well. But when you're outlining the top, you don't start from the beginning, so that the natural hair of our brows can stand out on their own and it looks well groomed and finished. So same thing is done in the other brow. So when you're done here, you make sure that you brush out to blend and finish properly. While you're brushing it out, it naturally does blend in. And then you fill in any part that is showing the skin. So basically that's what we've done, and then you apply the same method on the other brow. So you measure against the other one to be sure that they are aligned. Brows are important to be identical, but they can never be perfectly the same, because naturally they are not perfectly the same, even if they look like that. So we're applying the same method on the other brow, and then we fill in the outline, follow the natural hair, and then you cover the sparse areas as well. Once that is done, you fill in and you stroke the beginning part to ensure that the natural hair stands out. So while brushing, it's important to also fade out the beginning part of the brows. That is very important, so it's not boxed up or it looks artificial. So once that is done, we'll start with the next segment of the brows, which is to ensure that it is properly defined. It has to be properly defined using a concealer. I'm using LA Girl concealer here, Toffee to be precise, the Pro Concealer. You ensure that both sides of your angle brush are, you know, touched with the concealer to make it really tapered, makes it firm, and makes the defining of your brows easier. So what I'm doing now is defining the outline which I had drawn out earlier. Defining your brows gives it that good aligned finish. So that's exactly what I'm doing now. Defining her brows, following the natural hairline I sketched. So when you're defining the brows, you could decide to reduce it in size. You can cut it down to be smaller in certain areas. It depends on your preference, really. So once that is done for both brows, when you're satisfied with the way you want both brows lined or defined with your concealer, you then go over to the top of the brows using 2 shades darker or your own shade of foundation. Very lightly. You don't apply it on the brush the way you did for the under part of the brows. You just practically just stain it with your brush. So when you do that, you're actually just cleaning the top of the brows that you had sketched and outlined earlier. You clean it up on both sides, and then you clean out, ensure a good finish. You sweep out with your brush. Once that is done, the next step will be taken is to take your blending brush and blend properly both sides, so there are no concealer marks or patches. So I'm using my powder to blend that out in a circular motion as well, in and out, in and out, so we have the natural finish without leaving patches. So we'll do that on both eyes. Once you're done, you use that same brush to mattify the top of your brows. This is very important. You really don't want to go about with oily linings above your brows. I see some ladies with that and it's not very well, nice looking. So if you mattify the top of your brows, you avoid such instances where you have shiny brows, especially the top of your brows. You mattify. It's important. It's okay to mattify it with your powder or before applying your powder, you know. So I'm using a clear mascara to just brush all over the brow again, just to keep it fresh and neatly finished. So I'll do that for the other brow, and then the next thing is to line our eyes properly. Line. You start from the outer corner of the eyes with a brow gel and then a tiny angle brush. That's exactly what I'm using here. You line the eyes. So what I'm doing now is lining the lash line area. So I'm lining it from the outer to the inner part of the eye. You do same thing for the other side. Carefully, because you really don't want to make any mistake at this point. So once that is done, we'll go over to the next step, which is applying your mascara thinly before your eyelashes are applied. So once you apply this, you curl up, and then you pick up from underneath. You apply, you pick up, you apply, you curl up, and then you pick up from underneath. I've applied the lashes already. I'm practically smudging the under part of the eyes. I'm using brown, those shades of brown and the dark brown. So for smoky, it's good to smudge. So after doing this, I'm just lining with a liquid liner over the lash which I had applied on the line. It gives a neat finish and a perfect lining as well. So I'll do that on the other eye as well. Make sure that the lashes are well set in place. So I'm doing that on the other eye, lining over the pot gel liner that I applied earlier. It gives that flow with the lash which has already been applied. So you just do that carefully. You don't need too much. Do that carefully, and then you allow it settle and dry in. So once that is done, you just ensure it's neatly finished into the inner corner of the eyes. So that's exactly what I'm spotting. So that's applied. You can also check and pick up the under part of the lash which has been applied and blend with your mascara to gel up and fit with your natural lash. So that's what I just did. So you make sure there are no stains, and then you press it down to ensure it's firm. Next, I'm using a powder, my finishing powder, a natural shade of powder, to blend out all that has been applied. The setting powder, the contour powder, and all. So I'm fading out with a loose powder brush, finishing brush. I'm fading it out, Once that is done, you use a smaller brush for the smaller areas to also fade out. The under eye area too, you use the fade out, you brush out, you fade out with the powder, a shade of powder. So you do that for a neat finishing. You keep blending, and then I'm using the brush, a tiny blending brush for the eyes, to clean up with the powder that I'm using for finishing, to clean the under eye area. So I'm blending out with a powder brush. So once I do that, the next step after this is to use the powder to set the part where I'd contoured as well, if I want it more defined. So I will set that as well with a tiny brush, which I'm doing here. We'll make sure that is neatly done and is well structured. Next, I'm applying the contour powder. So I'm using the face definer kit here. So I'm applying that on a cheekbone, underneath a cheekbone. So that will actually bring out the cheekbone area. To bring out the cheekbone area properly. So after that, the next thing will be to blend it out properly. You blend it out properly. So once that is done, you start applying. You blend in circular motion, take it backwards. Blend in circular motion, take it backwards. And then you do that over the corners of the face, because you also used the contour concealer there as well. So we're going to do that. Apply and blend. So once that is applied and it's well blended, we would get our powder brush and still fade out until you're satisfied. You don't need to apply too much powder. I'm just using the brush I'd used already without any powder in it to blend out. So I'm blending out to avoid patches, blending out properly. And then we take, after that contour powder applied, I'm going to apply blush on her cheek, the apple of her cheek. There's something we call apple of the cheeks, like that ball-like area on your cheek. So I'm applying blush on the apple of her cheek. You know, when you smile, it pops up. So I'm applying the blush over the face define kit contour powder that I used earlier. So the next after that is the bronzer. So you remember this, you know, the contour, the blush, then your highlighter or bronzer. It's also called bronzer. You use it on your T-zone area and over your cheek apple of your cheek. So you map out and then you start blending. So I'm going to use my mini highlighting brush to do that, which you can see here. I'm applying it over the blush and over the brow tail area, the side of our face. So we'll extend it there, so we'll have that illuminating finish. So I'm just going to blend all that out, blend it properly, apply it on her cupid bow over her lips before anything is done there. So I'm spreading it out to ensure it fades out properly. Same thing over the bridge of our nose. because the T-zone area has to be properly highlighted. It has to be properly highlighted with the bronzer. So that's actually the finishing for the highlighting part. So once that is done, you blend out with that powder brush you used initially. You don't need any powder in that brush. You just blend out, you know, blend out with that brush, or it could even be your foundation brush you had used earlier. You blend out without applying any extra thing on the brush, in the brush. So you blend out, fade out. Basically, you check and ensure that everything is well faded out. So to finish up our natural brown smoky eyes, I will just add a shimmery gold pigment. You know, that's the shimmery gold eyeshadow that I'm applying over the brown powder eyeshadow that I smoked out earlier. I'm just trying to have a gold teardrop effect here, so that the finishing is perfect, just the way I want it. So that's the finishing spray I just applied to put the makeup in place. It's actually good for an all-day outing where the makeup stays intact, mattified, and it has that sultry finish, that dewy look at the end of the day. So the under neck area, the neckline, can just apply sparingly powder to make sure that the face is not different from the neck. You really don't want any demarcation. That's why it's important to use your shade. So whatever is left in your brush, you just use we don't advise you applying so much powder. So the next is the lip. I'm using a lip liner, a brown lip liner, to line her lips first. So I'm lining the upper part of her lip with a brown lip pencil. So once that is properly mapped out, I'll go to the under part of our lips, do the same lining. Make sure that you follow our lip line inwards, depending on the person's size of lip. So I'm blending inwards as well. I'm going to blend in this lip liner on the full top of our lip, after which I would take a brown matte lip stain to use over what I've just done, which I'm doing now. So I'm using a Zaron lip stain to do this. So I'm going to use it to line just the part where I lined under, in the under lip area, because I want to have a natural lip look here. So I'm not going to put it all over the lips. So next is a Juvia matte lip stain I'm using. I'm using that coral-like color. I'll leave all the products used in the section, the comment section, description section once done. So over this, I'm going to use a pink, baby pink lipstick over this, so that I have that natural lip finish look. So I'll just blend it over, and then it comes out peachy for me when I usually do this mix. So I just tap in the middle part, taking another color that has a glossy form of that color I achieved now over her lower lip. So once that is applied, I'll practically just blend what I've done so far using a pencil to outline under the lip stain I'd applied. a lip pencil. So I'll do that and then take my lip brush and blend inwards again, and then I take some of that and put at the top of the lip, just that section. So I'm just tapping, tap tap tap. You can add more if you want. And then next is to ensure that you carefully apply the gloss over what you've done so far. You have to be very careful. Applying gloss over matte, you have to be very precise and very careful. So I'm applying gloss, the Sugar Plum Zaron lip gloss, over the lipsticks that I've applied so far, because I want that glossy lip finish. So I'll just tap in the middle part of it, and then I'm done with the lips. So the next thing is like using your lip pencil to outline the lips, just to have that sharp finish. You know, I'm applying it inwards, so that the under part of the lip is not so flat. I'm applying it inwards and on the edges as well, just for a satisfied finished look. So when you do that, you blend in with your lip brush. You blend in with your lip brush, and then once done, you ensure that it's properly blended and you're satisfied with that. Then you could use your angle brush or a cotton bud which you soaked in your foundation shade to clean the edges of the lips. It's very important to clean this and define. It's used to define. You could use your angle brush that is well tapered with foundation or concealer, or cotton bud like you can see that I'm using here. I'm applying foundation on it and using it to clean the edges. It's very important. So once that is done, you clean with the other parts, and then you use a small brush or blending brush to apply powder. I'm actually using powder to finish the cleaning that I just did. So that's it. We're done with the lips. We're practically done with the looks. I'm just finishing where I'm not so satisfied with bronzer, powders and all. So you can see she loves her look. We're just doing the fade outs. This look is a brown smoky look with nude lips, glossy. We call this everyday smoky. Everyday smoky. You could pass for day and night look. You can rock it for any occasion. So that's it. We're practically wrapped up with the look. I hope you enjoyed watching it. Thank you for your time and for watching. You can fade out, you can play around with different colors. So I'm just going to pick up the under part of her lash. So here you have to be very, very careful. It's optional. Some people do, some people don't, but usually I like doing this. I'll just pick up lightly the under lash area. So once I pick that up, or you brush across, that's fine. Don't need anything extra. So once that is done, you also use a tiny brush to clean the under part of the eyes once done. So that's about it. We're practically done with this look. You can see the lip is popping And then I'm finishing the brow with brow tint. This also gives it a natural hair finish. It actually has fibers in it, so when you don't have hairs, it just naturally fills up the hair or the skin area. So that's what I'm just doing, putting finishing touches to this look. So we've done with the whole look, putting our finishing spray, and then you use our fan, and that's it. Hope you love the look. As you can see, she's rocking it. She loves her look. I hope you enjoyed watching. Thanks for watching. You should try this out. Bye.